I am back to talk about another sentencing letter for Julie Chrisley. I've already been through a couple of those. If you haven't checked them out yet, make sure to go down the list of the content that I have shared with you regarding Julie and Todd Chrisley, and you'll see the memos. I have done a couple there.
Yeah.
In this one, we're actually going to visit the one where she I guess she's being talked about with this nonprofit that she worked with. But let's go ahead and bring it up so I can stop guessing and just start talking. All right, so this is the Alliance for Kids meeting the emergent need. All right, and one of the things that I want to do with this one, because this one is fairly short, I want to talk about how this could have been, I hate to say better, but let's just say a little bit more in depth here. I am writing this letter on behalf of Julie Chrisley. My name is Fran Maynard, and I'm the Director of Engagement at Tennessee Alliance for Kids. I first met Julie and her family at TAC's Very Merry Christmas Parade on December 5th, 2021. The parade is for children in foster care in Davidson County, Tennessee. Julie and her family attended and handed out poppet toys and cookies to the families coming through this parade. At this time, Julie asked how she could get involved with TAC, and that is how our relationship began. And I'm just going to read the whole thing because it is so short. Shortly after the parade, Julie and her husband shared about the work TAC is doing in Middle Tennessee on their podcast. In 2021, the Chrisleys also decided to give their personal Christmas bonus from their production company to TAC in 2021, which was $4,000. In May of 2022, Julie put together and donated 5 TAC packs, which are backpacks filled with essential and comfort items for children in foster care. In July of 2022, Julie also donated items needed to fill TAC packs. Julie has offered on many occasions for us to let her know if we have a need, and even offered her son's services if we ever needed someone to help with a move. Okay, so there we go. So I'm going to sort of go back to the beginning of this and sort of break this up. And I went ahead and read the whole thing because it was short. Okay, so we know who this is coming from. So this is coming from the engagement, the director of engagement at this organization. And, typically in any organization, this is going to be the person who is conducting that community outreach or that business outreach to look for partners, sponsorships, and that sort of thing. So, she would have a good sense of what it's like for Julie in terms of working with her to try to do community activities and getting community support. And so she says she met her at the parade. Now, let me talk about the parade piece for a minute, because when you're a celebrity and someone of this stature, to show up at the small community parade, sometimes people see celebrities as not showing up at the small community things anymore, not doing things for their communities. Like, that's not what you see in the media. You see them on TV. And it's hard sometimes to think that, oh, well, do they even do stuff like that? But they do. They do. And imagine, though, how much time it takes to break away from all the other things that you have to do, the commitments that pay you a whole lot of money, to say, no, this is actually something that's important that I want to show up for. So this letter is, although it's short, it's coming from a good source, because it's showing that not only does she do all this public stuff, but hey, she does actually come back and do things in the community. All right. And attending the parade and giving out toys is just this very general kind of thing. Like, it wasn't some sort of glitzy thing that she's doing. She's just handing out toys and cookies. Okay. And that's how the relationship started. Now, probably this last paragraph is where I sort of see things um, where things could have gotten a little better, because the problem I'm sensing here is it just reads like a list. She did this, she did that. Like, they gave some money, which was their bonus. They donated 5 TAC packs, you know, and donated items and offered her son's services. So it sort of reads like a list, and it doesn't go as in depth as it possibly could have. So let me talk about, for instance, just the bonus. Okay, so that's the one she starts with. That they gave this personal Christmas bonus of $4,000. So most people are going to look at that and they're going to be like, well, $4,000, don't they make tons of money? Why are they only giving $4,000? Well, okay, first of all, when you're in this sort of a position, you get asked by a lot of organizations and people to give money to things. And so, when you just see $4,000, it doesn't sound like a whole lot, but it doesn't put it in perspective because you don't know Christmas time, you have no idea how many organizations that they might have gotten asks from that they donated to. So we have to keep that one in perspective. But that's why I'm thinking just saying $4,000 doesn't actually help her case, because initially you look at it and go, oh, well, that's all. But like I said, she could have been donating to lots of organizations, and nobody, she doesn't have to give away her $4,000. It's hers. All right, so that was one of the things that I felt maybe needed a little bit more um, perspective around. I mean, because they hadn't really known them, and it could have been framed more like we had only known them a short period of time, and here they were already saying, you know what, we're going to forego our Christmas bonus that we give to everybody else on the team, not forego it, but the same bonus that we give to everybody else, guess what? We're going to give it to you too, because we think you're going to be great partners. So had it been put in that sort of perspective, then I think it makes more sense than just sort of saying that, people got to figure it out in their head that it sounds like she was just matching something that she was giving, that they didn't have to do that. And then you have the piece about the 5 tack packs. Like, don't put the number in there. Okay. So if, because you go donated 5 tack packs, which are filled with, and there's no list there of what it is, but I like the description there for what it is. But I think you could have just left off the 5 again, because it sounds very listy. Like $4,000 doesn't sound like a lot. 5 doesn't sound like a lot either, because then people go just 5. And I get the point. They probably went back through their records and they're trying to be accurate about what they're doing, and they don't want to leave some sort of misrepresentation. But even, by narrowing it down to just 5, I don't know what that means. Does that mean that they went out and purchased the stuff? Because again, put it in perspective here. What does that mean, donated 5 tack packs, which are filled with? Does that mean they donated money for that? Or they actually went out, bought backpacks, went shopping? And I don't really watch the show, so maybe they did all that and I don't know. But, went shopping, got the backpacks, had a list of what they thought kids were going to need, and really put a lot of time and energy into that. So that's sort of what's missing here. Like, that gives you more information about the person's character than just donated 5 tack packs. So you see where I'm going with this? So that could have been elaborated on a whole lot more. And then again, it talks about in July where she donated some items needed to fill tack packs. And so it's just sort of Julie also donated items. There's just not a lot of depth there. So while the letter is certainly something that sort of helps, because it shows, that she still has this commitment to the community. This is not, I don't know of the relationship here. So maybe this person's like, I didn't have a whole lot of time to write the letter. And, got it at the last minute. I had other things going on. And let me go back and look at it. It's November 1st. We're getting ready to go into the holidays. So maybe there's lots of planning going. I don't know. Okay. I don't know. So I don't want to beat her up on the letter, because I think she really did try. I think she really did, because she went through and talked about how much, and at the and how they talked about what TAC is doing on their podcast. Because think about that too. That's a call out. That's sort of a shout out to say, hey, I'm going to talk about this on my podcast, and maybe other people will donate to the organization also. So there was a way that that this could have been broadened to show the impact. So let me talk about that one thing one last second, and I'll just sort of wrap this up. This part where she says, shortly after parade, and I'll bring it back up so that you can see it. Shortly after the parade, Julie and her husband shared about the work TAC is doing in Middle Tennessee on their podcast. Now, suppose she was then able to say, and I later heard from Julie that that podcast got shared 10 times. And as a result of them sharing it, our organization actually received, calls from 5 new sponsors and this and this. And this is how Julie's sharing about us impacted our organization and how much more we were able to then provide to the kids. Like that's how you use that to really like nail it down, because sharing on a podcast with a person who has that much of a following, depending upon what she said, there's no way of really understanding what kind of benefit that could have had to the organization unless you share it here. And you have plenty of people who are in that sphere, okay, who have a podcast, who have a TV show, who have whatever, who don't share, okay? And so it would have been really good for Julie had this been explored a little bit more in this letter. But that's what I wanted to say around that. So hopefully you got a little bit better understanding of what she did with the organization, the letter and what it says, how the letter probably could have gone a little bit more in depth. And so if that was informative for you, learn a little bit more, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and let me know in the comments your thoughts on this letter. If you've ever been in this situation and had to write a letter for someone or needed for someone to write a letter for you. Don't forget to subscribe and peace.